that a Christian needs to know and be confident in. Those being on Wednesday night, we're studying Acts and the Pauline epistles, and tonight we'll study Genesis, but we only go to Genesis 25 because the rest is just story, and you can read it, but the first 25 chapters are very important doctrine. I'm sorry, I forgot to.
Yeah. Anyway, you understand. It's only an introduction. Dapat pa ito?
Yes.
Okay. And then after this class, we'll study history of the Jews.
Magkamana ni magtuon kita o history sa mga Hudyo.
And if you know those three subjects, I mean really know them, you are a rooted and grounded Christian.
So kung mahibaw ninyo, masamtan, inyong matudyuhan ang katungtulog na subject, hinaka na.
And you're ready to build your life and your knowledge on the Word of God.
O diyan na ninyong masugod, malay-balay ang kinabuhi sa pulong sa Ginoo.
Hello to our television audience. Yes, keep that money coming in through the mail. Yes, thank you. Okay. Any real special prayer requests? Okay, then Brother Roger will lead us in prayer, please.
Bilang buka, Ginoo, salamat Ginoo tak na sa kagabiyon, salamat Ginoo sa pagkis sa abot ng Ginoo, kauban na mo, pagkuli, pagkuli, Ginoo, pagkuli na mo, na kalinaw, sa alam, sa kalinaw sa pulong, sa pagtuon sa Ginoo, sa alam ng inim, sa magang pulong,
Amen. Okay, turn to the most important verse in the whole Bible. You know what that is?
Genesis 1:1.
Genesis 1:1. The most important verse in the Bible. Now, I'm going to require that you, just like we did the book of Acts, you do the same with Genesis and the contents of it. And on the screen is a list of the contents of the chapters listed right there. And we're only going to 25, so you have to memorize the first 25 chapters' contents. And quit your mully-grubbing, you don't know what that is. Quit your complaining. I'm sorry, go ahead. I gotta get this into my system here.
So, magatuon kita sa Genesis 1 to 25 na din ang kada content, kada chapter, yun yung ato nang memorizon kay isang tani.
And believe me, from a lot of years of experience, this will be one of the most important things that you will learn in Bible college is chapter content for some of the books.
So, tuhoy ko nga kaning mga content sa kada chapter sa Biblia, mao gini foundation, mao gini ang atong angyan mahibaw-an kay importante kay ni tuwa.
You can't see it?
Can you guys read that?
No, we don't read it.
You can read it
Zoom in na lang.
from here. Di na may large.
I guess I should put it in
Everybody get everybody's name.
bold print.
Diya na lang kamo.
Yes, ay, balik na dito. Wala mo dito. Ha? Tulis ko lang ngayon. Ay, masa na? Makupya na. Makupya. Maba.
Okay, good.
Bali mo ba?
1 month.
Balik.
7 days of creation.
Yan na tayo kung gabi-prepare ka. Balin.
Dito na lang kami.
Okay, Yuli was there Wednesday night. Let's see if he has memorized chapter 16 of Acts, the contents. No? Haven't had time to do it yet. I'm just curious.
May appearance number 1.
This chapter 1 to 3.
Now, you do this, but we're going to start and begin our study. Genesis 1:1, you also have to memorize that verse, which you should already memorize. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. And do not write heavens, plural.
Ngalan, memorize yun ninyo ni kaning Genesis 1:1, ingon man diring created the heaven and the earth, ayaw daw isulat nga plural, heaven, dagan. Ayaw mo tanging S, kay heaven naman yun.
And there's a reason for that, and you'll learn that tonight.
Kung kanay rason nga nung heaven na gid na o nahibaw-an ninyo na karong ikabdiyo na.
Now, this is the most important verse in the Bible because if you don't believe this, close your Bibles and go home, and you're wasting your time coming to church.
Mao ni ang pinaka-importante nga verse sa Biblia kung inyo gining tuhuan kay kung dili nimo ni tuhuan may pahimuuli na ran mo o walay pulos ang inyong pag-ana sa simbahan.
If you don't believe this verse, in fact, if you don't believe the first 4 words of this book, then you can't claim to be a Christian or a Bible believer.
Ang unang upat sa in the beginning God, tuhuan din na ninyo kay kung dili ninyo tuhuan, wala gid kay
Most of the world do not believe that verse.
kasagaran sa kalibutan, wala mo tuo kung salig ani nga bersikulo.
Now, I want you to think this way. I want you to think of the Bible as God's autobiography. Do you know what that means? A book written about your life that you wrote.
Gusto nako nga inyong basahon kaning hunahunaon nga kaning Biblia atong basahon kaning sa primero pasugod na inyong biography. Sabot mong biography, ang inyong kaugalingon, inyong gisulat. Mao na biography na discuss inyong kaugalingon.
Now think about your life right this moment. Maybe you're only 13 or 16 or 26, but think about your life. And if you were going to write an autobiography,
No, na daw inyong kaugalingon, inyong kinabuhi karon. Na kung magsulat mo sa inyong kaugalingon, istorya sa inyong kaugalingon, autobiography,
it would be very important to you to make sure that certain times and things in your life were included in that autobiography so that if somebody happens to read it, they will know those things about you.
importante kayo, di ba nga dunay mga panghitabo sa inyong kinabuhi nga importante sa inyo gusto ninyo na isulat sa inyong autobiography kay para kung dunay makabasa ato, ilang mahibaw-an ang importante nga hitabo sa inyong
Now,
kinabuhi.
there are also a lot of things that nobody needs to know. I'm not talking about sin. I'm just talking about what did you do last July 9th, 2 years ago? Who cares?
So, napoy mga butang na dili nyo ganahan isulat sa inyong autobiography pero wala ko nag-discount sa sala kung dili, gusto lang kung kabalo kung sa inyong dili mo atong July 9, 19, 2020. So,
Now, God is the same way. And God wrote his autobiography in the King James Bible.
Ang Ginoo inanagyapon o gasulat siya sa iyahang autobiography sa iyang kaugalingon diha sa King James Bible.
If you wrote your own autobiography, you would also want to make sure that there were no mistakes in it about your life.
So kung magsulat mo para sa inyong kinabuhi, inyong siguraduhon na walay sayop na naisulat dinha.
So God wrote his autobiography in the King James Bible, and he wrote everything that he wanted us to know about him in that book.
So ang Ginoo nagsulat siya sa iyang kinabuhi sa King James Bible o iyang gisaysay dito gisulat ang tanang gusto niya nga mahibaw-an nato.
Now, if that's true, and it is, then the things that he did not include, he must not think we need to know it for good reason.
So tinuod na nga iya ginang gisulat, pero kung dunay mga butang nga wala niya gisulat, dili na ta kinahanglan nga magputi-puti pa sa itong pangitaon kay wala na ito niya gapil para kay doon na siya mayong nga rason niya.
But
Number 20, that's supposed to be Abraham.
Yeah, Abraham.
oh yeah,
And what's that in?
Animalik, must be a Ahimelech.
Is that spelled properly?
Abraham.
yeah, that's the spell checker, I'm sure.
What about the second
Ahimelech.
name?
Amalek.
Ahimelech.
So it's not spelled properly.
Yeah.
I tried to make sure it was, and I think the spell checker just automatically.
Ahimelech is K, right? C-L-E-K.
Abimelech, Abimelech.
Amalek.
Abimelech. Abimelech. Ame. Amelech, Abimelech.
I don't know.
I think it's Abimelech. I think it's Abimelech.
Yeah, A-B-I-M-L-E, I'm sorry, A-B-I-M-E-L-E-C-H, Amalek.
It's an odd spelling.
One more time, A-B-I-M-E-L-E-C-H, Abimelech. So I want you to think of the Bible as God's autobiography. And because God is perfect and he wrote his autobiography, then it has to be perfect also.
So ang Ginoo nagsulat siya sa iyahang autobiografiya o iya ka nang sulat nga perfecto kay Ginoo man siya so perfecto binang iyang sulat ang pagaling.
Now, if you were writing your autobiography, where would you begin?
Kung magsulat ka sa imong autobiography, asa daw ka magsugod?
Probably with your birth, where you were born, maybe.
Ngali, diya ka magsugod sa imong birthday.
And since God has never been born,
Niya kaya ang Ginoo kay wala mo gid mga tao,
then God started at the beginning.
so sugod ang Ginoo sa sinugdanan.
In the beginning, God.
Mo na sa sinugdan, Ginoo.
Now I want you to notice that God doesn't make any apologies in the Bible.
So, gusto na ko ng inyong ibawaan nga ang Ginoo wala nangayog pasaylo o nangayog lagi.
He doesn't ask you if you agree.
Wala siya nag-ask ka imo, nagtanong sa imo kung muuyon ba ka.
He doesn't care if you agree or not.
Wala siya ipake kung ito ba ka o dili.
He makes a very firm statement in the beginning, God.
Kung naghimo siya usa ka strong tinod nga kuan nga isog nga pagsurat na sa sinugdan.
And it's left up to you. The rest of it is left up to you.
So nara na nimo, so ang tanan na nara gid na nimo.
Now, an atheist, if he were true in himself, would have to read the first 4 words and make a decision which would probably involve his eternity.
Kasabot mo atheist, kanang dili mo to Ginoo. Ha, atheist dili mo to Ginoo. So ang mga atheist daw pagbasa ni dili gyud sila mas.
So what that means is if you're talking to an atheist or witnessing to an atheist, the first 4 words is enough.
So kung mag-witness daw ka sa mga atheist, ang unang 4 ka pulong sakto na gyud ka.
You can save a lot of time witnessing to an atheist, and really, all you need is the first 4 words, because after that, if you labored on and on and on, your witness would be an attempt to persuade him to change his mind about the first 4 words.
So dapat inyo yung ipasabot ka ng unang 4 ka pulong, kahit kung imo lang ipadayon o niya imo siyang kumbinsiyon, wala yung apoy pulos kay ang in the beginning God yun.
In the beginning, God. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Tinugdan ang Ginoo gahimo sa langit dita.
Once again, God didn't ask your opinion.
Ang kausa, wala gyud nangayo ang Ginoo sa inyong mga nanahuna.
He didn't ask your permission.
Wala siya nangayo sa inyong permiso.
He made a statement,
At himo siya og
and the rest is up to you, whether you believe it or not.
nalagid na ninyo kung ito ba mo dili.
Now, I want you to think of this whole whiteboard as God.
Gusto na ko ngayong una-una nga kaning whiteboard Ginoo.
And can you imagine nothing?
Ka-imagine ba mo o wala?
Actually, there's no way that any of us can imagine nothing.
So tinuod lang, wala di makikita na to na maka-imagine o wala.
There's always air, there's always light. But can you imagine no air, no light, no ground, no sky, no clouds, no stars?
Imagine ba ninyo na walay hangin, walay yuta, walay bituon, walay
There's nothing there.
naamang yun.
But in the beginning, that's the way it was.
So sa sinugdan, maugin na.
God is a spirit,
Ang
so you can't see him.
Ginoo espiritu o dili siya nato makita.
And so, in the beginning, there was nothing
So sa
but God.
sinugdan, wala gyud, wala tanan kundi na ay Ginoo.
And he created everything that there is.
Kung siya naghimo, nagkama katanan nga atong makita.
Now, if you go to high school and the science teacher's going to teach you how the world began, they also start with nothing.
Kung bila ko ka sa high school, isudo dito na nagsugod po kuno sa wala.
But they don't have God.
Pero wala sila Ginoo.
What they teach is that nothing exploded and became everything that there is.
Kung silang gitudlo na sa wala, sa sunugan wala, pero naay dakong buto, kunya, diha tuludan gasugod ang mga butang sa kalibutan.
Actually, they're deceived because how do you get something out of nothing without God?
Sinudang na dimbungan sila kay ang daw kuno paghimo og mga butang kung walay Ginoo.
That can't happen.
Di na mahitabo.
But they say that the nothing that was in the beginning is so small that you can't see it.
Nag-ingon sila nga kanang kunong wala, di ba wala di matugod na wala.
And it-
Sa kuno'y gamay nga dot na daw kasugod.
Which doesn't really make a lot of sense. You can't see it with the strongest microscope or the strongest telescope. It was really nothing, and then nothing exploded. I'm not being funny.
So, ingon sila nga ang wala kuno, gusto mo na mo sa microscope and telescope nga grabe nga power nga wala kayo makita. Pero ning buto lang kuno na, nga hindi ka na.
So their verse, and I'm being silly right now, says, in the beginning, bang.
So sila, ang ilang bersikulo, ingon sila nga sa sinugdan, buto. Diba?
What was it that exploded?
Unsa kuno na yung buto.
Nothing.
Ang wala.
How can nothing explode?
Saan ko ng pagbuto sa wala?
Where did the energy come from to make nothing explode?
So, asa ko no gikan ang enerhiya nga gikan sa wala, kunya hingbuto.
Now they say it differently so that it makes them look smart, but that's exactly what they teach in Lumbia High School and the University of Science and Technology down on the National Highway.
So, ila lang gitudlo, dahil lahi lang pagkatudlo, kaya para inon nga bright sila, pero sa tinuod, wala, di ba?
In the beginning, bang, in the beginning, God. You have to make a decision and you have to make it right now.
Sa sinugdan wala, or sa sinugdan Ginoo, so magdesisyon ka karon kung sa gawin imong tuhuan.
You cannot be neutral on this.
Dili pwede nga nakatunga-tunga, ani, mamili big ka.
Now, if you believe in the beginning God, then we can move on with created the heaven and the earth. But if you don't believe in the beginning God, we cannot go anywhere.
So kung mutuo ka nga sa sinugdan Ginoo, pwede ka magpadayon, pero kung dili ka mutuwa na, hanggang na lang. Hanggang na lang.
You have to ask yourself the question, do I believe in God?
Pangutang inyong sa pagalingon na mutuo, ako sa Ginoo.
Now be careful. Because in your eternity, where you spend eternity, may be based upon what you say. You believe in God? If you say, yes, I believe in God, then we move on to the creation. If you say, no, I don't believe in God, then you have to believe evolution.
So, kinahanglan nga ang pagtuo sa Ginoo, maunay may balo, dito mo na to kung asa ka padulong. So, kinahanglan nga maglulugod ka nga mutuo ka sa Ginoo, kahit kung dili, mula kung kinahanglan hindi nga mutuo ka kay asa man ka padulong o dito ka kapadayon.
There's no other choice besides evolution or creation.
Wala kay laing pilihan kung dili ang evolution kung balo mo ng evolution. Ha? Napag-ibigay ka balo evolution? Wala. Evolution lang pagsugod ba? Hindi mo sa kaya. Evolution na. Ano ha? In the beginning. So, duha na pilihan, either evolution or in the beginning. God. Evolution or God.
Now, evolution always works with big numbers.
Evolution kahit dagkot na naman.
And it makes them look very smart when they say it because you can't disprove it.
So, sila lang isulti, mura silang bright, kasi man ako siya mag-disprove. Kasabot mo disprove.
By the way,
Disprove is dili mo Tagalog, ano na yan? Ito na yan, kasabot mo? Sakta na, disprove. Basta, disprove. Kaya dili mo mapamatudan.
that's perfectly fine. We want you to understand, and if you have questions, please ask them.
So, kung naagin mo yung masabtan, palihog pangutana mo kaya para sagot ka.
Now, evolution says that the Big Bang, you're fine, the Big Bang, which is in the beginning bang, the Big Bang happened 13 billion years ago.
So, ang evolution, yun sila, nagsugod sa in the beginning bang, nasugod ko noong
13
billion years ago.
Give or take a few million here or a few million there.
Hindi nyo gumagan o kuhaan ng mga pinakamilyon na patay mo na.
You don't have to be so specific, about 13 billion years ago.
Hindi na ito matumbok 13 billion years.
So if it's 12,464,522,014, or if it's 13.5,656,000,725,015, it really doesn't matter. And I want to hear you say all that. What is your word for billion? I'm just curious. Billion?
How you say billion?
Billion. Billion. My Savannah's getting pretty good, isn't it? Billion. Okay, now. Okay. In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth. Now, don't get ahead of me, but there's only one heaven in the beginning. We'll learn tonight there's actually 3 heavens, but that is heaven divided up into 3.
May kasunugan, buhat ang langit o yuta. Kasi kay langit naman, dikit man. Kung may bawal mo karong na gagamiyon na katulo na lipahin ang langit. Bawal na sa gagamiyon. May heaven naman, dikit sila.
Now, just to give you something that you can visualize, the whiteboard is God. And really, there's no end to it. It's just that all the whiteboard right now is God.
Para lang tagaan mo nahuna, inyong hanaon, isipon na kanang whiteboard, Ginoo. So, wala kila, white kulat, wala kanan, Ginoo.
And this is the universe.
Ito na ang ibig ng universe.
God is outside the universe.
So, ang Ginoo nasa gawas sa universe.
That is the heaven that Genesis 1:1 is talking about.
So, ang Ginoo gawas man sa universe, mao daw na ang langit nga gihisgutan sa Genesis 1:1. Heaven. Ang gawas sa universe, ha?
God has to be outside the universe in order that He created, in order that He might create the universe.
Ang Ginoo gawas yun siya sa universe kaya para mahimo niya ang universe. Ito kita sa sulod din.
In the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth.
Pinundan, himo sa Ginoo ang langit ug lupa.
There you go. God, the whole whiteboard, in the beginning, God created the heaven and the earth, the universe and the earth.
So, sa pinundan, Ginoo ng blackboard, ang whiteboard ay, mao na ang universe ng sphere, earth, ng earth, kalibutan, ang lingin. So, himo na sa Ginoo.
Earth is inside the universe. In fact, everything that we know of is inside the universe.
Ang kalibutan na sulod sa universe, ang tanan natin na hibawan na sulod sa universe. Maging siya universe.
Universal.
And the only thing outside the universe is, guess what? God.
So, ang tanan gawa sa universe, maunay Ginoo.
Now, it's only been within the last 100 years that man started thinking about what might be outside the universe.
So, yadto lang iaging mga gastos sa tuig na ang tao na gumahuna ng punta dahil tuig na sa gawa sa universe.
And science will know because they don't believe in God.
Ang science, wag kabalo, kaya hindi magkamatulog dito.
So science has no answer to a question like that. They can only imagine.
So, ang science, dinugid makatubag, anak na pangutana, sila lang ma-imagine ang ilang
Now for the last 50 years, they've been launching rockets that they tell us, anyway, are just going as far as they can in the universe. And they're finding, they tell us, they're finding things that they never imagined before.
So, sa siniglod sa simpilka na tuig, nagpadala sila ng rocket, sa rocket no. Ito sa kawanangan, gawa, pag nakakita mo sila ng mga butang, na wala lagi sila ma-inlag yung butang.
And they're going beyond our solar system.
O, lapak sila sa ato ang solar system. Sabot mo solar system? Sabot mo? Mga planeta. Nagawa sa ang planeta solar system is 7 planets.
So just a very crude, you can't see it.
Nakita niya, bigger ako. Kita?
Okay.
It's okay.
So we're on Earth, and we're sending a rocket ship up that's going and going and going outside, beyond the sun, beyond the moon, beyond the planets, out into the universe?
So, ang tao nagpadua og rocket, lapas pa sa bulan, lapas pa sa agaw, lapas pa sa mga planeta.
But science is beginning to ask the question, what if there is a hole in the universe?
So, ang science ko nangutana o unsa ka kung dunay banag sa universe.
What's beyond that?
Unsa ko may
And some of them have actually said, we've seen the end of the universe.
mga kagliuban na mingon nga nakit-an daw nila ang katapusan o ang kutlanan sa universe.
So, what happens when you go so far and you find the end of the universe and you keep on going?
Taon na ko, no? Kung gawat ka sa universe, kaya mo ang niya.
And they have no answer to that.
Wala dito ba niya.
But we have the answer because we have God's autobiography.
Pero kita natay kumbaga na kaya naman tayo Ginoo nga nagsulat sa iyahang autobiography.
Yeah. If you believe it or not,
Yung ani o wala?
so if you're an atheist, you're not allowed to believe anything else beyond Genesis 1:1 unless you become not an atheist.
Kung nakasabot man ka itiis no, dili mo ito Ginoo. So kung itiis ka, dili jud ka angayan nga mupadayon sa indabdining God kay di Ginoo. Kay Ginoo.
And that's the way God set it up because only the people that believe in God have the privilege of finding out more about God.
So, ang kananda nga muko Ginoo, dunay pribilehiyo na magkabalo kung sa pagdinaa sa unahan.
And it's a great, great honor to believe in God and to have the honor and privilege of finding out more about Him. But if you don't believe in God, God says, forget it right here. Drop it. You're out. I'll never reveal anything else to you.
So, usa ka tungog, nato nga mutuo sa Ginoo kay dunay pribilehiyo nga magtuon og makahibalo pa sa unahan kung unsa gyud ang mahitungod sa Ginoo. Kung dili mo mutuo Ginoo, pag undang mo karon kay wala kay pagkirahan.
Now that's important because this is the first verse of the Bible. And if you believe it, God says, okay, you can proceed, you can go further. Go ahead.
So, importante kayo nga indaginin God, kinahanglan tuhuan ang tutanan kay aron makapadayon ta. Ito siya dili ito ya katong pagawon.
Because God also has things in the Bible many, many times. He stuck it in the Bible to see if you still believe in God.
Ang Ginoo naapod siya daghang butang diha nga gisulat sa Biblia kay aron matanaw masuta kung mutuo ba ka sa Ginoo kay kung dili sa Ginoo.
But after Genesis 1:1, it isn't whether you believe in God or not, it's whether you believe God.
So, dili lang sa Genesis 1:1, dili pasabot kang mutuo ba ka sa Ginoo kung dili doon na ba kay pagtuo sa Ginoo.
Now, he'll have things in there that are hard to believe.
Na ay mga butang din nga nga gisudyot tuhuan.
And you have to make a decision right there. Do you believe God? And then you have many enemies of the Bible and of God that are saying other things to make you believe them.
Kailangan nga maghimo di ka desisyon karon na magtuo di ka Ginoo kay daghan kang mahimong kontra kung mamintag tuo ka Ginoo.
So all through the Bible, you've got opportunities to change your mind.
So diha sa Biblia, yung atay oportunidad nga pwede nimong usbon ang imong hunahuna.
And that's good. But the first time you make up your mind is in Genesis 1:1. And after that, you don't get any more opportunity to go any further if you don't believe in God.
Mayon na, pero naa sa in the Genesis 1:1, kinahanglan nga imong tuan kay pagkahuman na wala na kay oportunidad nga doon pa ang
So it's very important that you believe Genesis 1:1, and that's why it's the most important verse in the Bible.
So, importante ngayon na turuan na ninyo ang Genesis 1:1 kay maugid na pinaka.
And in Genesis chapter 1, you'll find out that he made everything you can see in 6 24-hour periods.
So, sa Genesis 1:1, sa Genesis, gihimo ang mga butang na tumakita karon sa 24 oras doon sa unang adlaw.
Because there are people that cheat and they say, well, I believe God created the heaven and the earth, but I believe eraser, where's the eraser? Oh, there it is. I believe that God created the heaven and the earth, but I believe He used evolution to do it.
Na magbiuban nga katudlo na miingon nga gusto ko nga gihimo sa Ginoo ang langit yuta, pero gigamit niya ang evolusyon ng teorya.
And they call that theistic evolution.
So gitawag ka na nga theistic evolution.
And that what they're doing is giving God a part of the beginning of man and the beginning of the universe. But God doesn't want a part. He is the truth.
So buot pasabot na nga, gitagaan nila parte ang Ginoo nga apil siya sa evolusyon. So dili na pwede kay siya ang Ginoo nga nagmugna, naghimo sa tanan.
So theistic evolution is science giving God part of the creation.
So ang theistic evolution nagasulti nga apil daw ang Ginoo pati siya sa pagbuhat sa sinugdan.
In other words, they would say that the days, the 6 days of creation are not 24-hour periods, they are indefinite periods of time.
Buot ka pasabot nga ang dili lang mo to anang 24 hours in 6 daunong kadlaw di na ituan kay ilang pagtuo nga indefinite kanang walay numero nga ang paghimo sa
So,
sinugdan.
an evolutionist would say 13 billion years ago all this came about. But it took 13 billion years to happen. It didn't come about in 6 24-hour periods. They would laugh at you if you said that.
So ang mga evolutionist nag-ingon nga 13 billion years paghimo usapan ko niya dili lang mo to anang 624 sabot mo 624 unang kadlaw 24 oras 24, dili sa mutuan ang ila kang katawaan o unang buwan.
But for instance, the sun was created on the fourth day. And vegetation came on the fifth day.
So, pananglitan, ang adlaw, gihimo sa ikaupat na adlaw. Kunya, ang katukod ng mga tanong-tanong sa ikalimang adlaw.
That vegetation can live 24 hours without sunlight. But if the days are unending scientific periods of time, then you can't have vegetation after the sun.
So, kung ito po ng mga naon, ang mga tanong, mabuhay na sila sa 24 hours. Daw di ko no kung ituwa na to ng evolusyon nga ila pa kamilyon. So, dibuhat ang adlaw. Kanya, mabuhay ba ko ng mga kuwan? Mabuhay ba ko ng mga tanong-tanong kung wala pa'y adlaw?
Now, if you choose to believe in the beginning God, then after we finish this lesson here tonight, I will teach you what are the benefits of those who choose to believe it.
So, kung mutuo mo karon nga sa tinubdan Ginoo, ang tagalan ta mong pribilehyo karon tuduan pa ta mo kung kay maayo ana nga pagtuo.
But right now, we're going to show you what happens to the people who choose not to believe it.
Karon, diyan ta mo sa mga tao nga wala ang napili nga dili mutuan.
And hopefully that doesn't describe anybody in this room tonight.
Ayon ta nga dili na mahitabo sa isa kaninyo karon.
If you choose not to believe it, this is the road that you have chosen. Number one, you're not allowed to believe anything else in this book.
So kung pili mo nga dili mo mutuo anang in the beginning God, ang una dili mo wala mo gialaw nga mutuo sa unsa pa na isulat ani nga Biblia.
You're not allowed to believe that God is love or that Mary's had Jesus as a virgin. You're not allowed to believe that because you don't believe in the beginning God.
Dili ka pwede na mutuo nga ang Ginoo na tao sa Birhen kay wa ang ito Ginoo sa sinugdan.
You would be judging the author of this book. And the truth is that the author is going to be the judge of you.
So ang mahitabo, imong hukman ang nagsulat ani nga libro, pero ang kamatuoran ang nagsulat sa libro maoy mo hukom nato.
In fact, you're not allowed to believe in God at all. Because you can't design your own God apart from Genesis 1:1.
So sa tinuod lang, dili mo pwede nga mo padayon no mo kapalayan ni kay ang Ginoo mang Dios ang maoy sinugdan. Dili pwede.
When the scientists teach in the beginning bang, they have to start with nothing. But if you study that, that's called the Big Bang Theory.
So ang mga scientist nagtudlo nga sa sinugdan buto, so mo na ginatawag og Big Bang Theory.
If you study that though, you'll find out that they believe there was actually something in the beginning, but you couldn't see it, and of course nobody was there 13 billion years ago to say what it looked like.
So kung inyo nang tuwan na ito ka nga sa sinugdan wala, nalay hintay ko buto, yung exist na yung
But think, if in the beginning there was already something, whatever that was.
So, nahanga na kung sa sinugdan, naana di ay, huwag na di kunoy something, kunya, wala naman niya.
You're doing a good job.
So, nahanga.
So if there was something, no matter how small it was, or whatever it was, then you actually believe in the eternality of matter.
So, kung mutuo daw mo anang ay something na naggamay kayo, limbro mo anang eternality.
What does that mean? That means if there was something in the beginning, what do you need God for?
So, ang pasabot naman nga doon na daw something, saan ang something sa Kinsaya?
If there was something in the beginning, then all we need to do is blow it up, and it becomes what we have today.
So, kung doon na ko na yung something sa sinugdan, dahil kalit kang buto, na kita ko.
Now they believe, the people that don't believe in God and teach evolution in the college and high school, believe that the explosion is still going on after 13 billion years.
So, ang katong mga gatudo nagatuo nga hangtod karon doon na kuloy nagbuto-buto nato. So, di ka na 13 billion years ago.
And that the earth, of course, is part of that Big Bang and the explosion. And so we're on a piece of matter that's been traveling at about 1,000 miles per hour for 13 billion years.
So, mao daw na doon na yung hingkay sa buto, di ba, Big Bang, nga, kita ko no, apil sa atong buto na nag-travel daw ta,
Now that's what you have to believe if you don't believe Genesis 1:1.
So, mo daw na imong tuan, kung dili ka mo tuod sa Genesis 1, no?
You choose.
So,
Now,
mamili ka, sa imong tuan.
if you choose not to believe, then you'll have you can't pray. You're not allowed to pray because there's not any God to pray to.
So, imong pilion, nga dili ka mo tuod sa Genesis 1:1, so dili ka pwede nga mag-ampo kay kinamay mga kuwan. Huwag man kay di tuan.
If you choose not to believe, you'll never have a final perfect authority.
So, kung imong pilion nga dili ka mo tuod, wala kay perfecto nga authority.
You'll never know for sure what to do or what not to do.
Di ka kabalo kung unsay buhaton o dili buhaton.
And that's what they teach in college too.
Mo na gitudo sa kolehiyo.
No final authority.
Walay final.
When I was young, they called it situation ethics.
So sa gamay pa ko, gitawag ka ng sitwasyon nga dili titik, dili titik. Dili ka na di pa pamatas ka.
So it doesn't matter what you do. There's no right and no wrong, and it depends upon the situation you're in, and you make the choice at the moment.
So wala na, depende kung unsay imong buhaton o kinahanglan mo buhaton, kung dili, depende ka na kung unsay imong buhaton diha.
And that makes life very simple. Because you get to do what you want, whether it's right or wrong, and nobody can judge you.
So simple na daw kayo ang kinabuhi, kay buhaton lang nimo imong gusto, wala daw mahukom nimo kung sayo maka o dili.
And in America, they'll tell you that every time you go out on a street meeting.
Sa Amerika, tutian ka na kada street meeting mo.
They'll say, judge not. You're not allowed to judge.
Kaya paghukom, kaya hindi ka pwede maghukom.
And that's the way you'll be if you don't believe Genesis 1:1.
Kung mo pinahimituan, kung hindi ka motuo sa Genesis 1:1.
And there's no judgment beyond that.
Kung wala'y paghukom, lapat kanya na.
And you'll start down a road that is described in the book of Romans in chapter 1.
So magsugod ka sa dalan nga gihisgutan sa Romans chapter 1.
And it starts in verse 18, and I want you to go there and I'll read part of it.
Kung nagsugod na sa Romans 1:18.
These are people that don't believe Genesis 1:1. And they start their life's journey down this road.
Mao ni ang dalan sa mga tao nga dili motuo sa Genesis 1:1.
Romans 1:18. For the wrath of God is revealed from heaven against all ungodliness and unrighteousness of men. Watch it, watch it, watch it. Who hold the truth in unrighteousness. In other words, they don't believe Genesis 1:1. Verse 19, because that which may be known of God is manifest in them, for God hath showed it unto them, for the invisible things of him from the creation of the world are clearly seen, being understood by the things that are made, even his eternal power and Godhead, so that they are without excuse. Because that when they knew God, they glorified him not as God, neither were thankful, but became vain in their imaginations, and their foolish heart was darkened. Professing, watch it, professing themselves to be wise, they became fools. That's exactly, you say, no, I'm not going to go down that road, then you better start your journey in Genesis 1:1.
So mingon ka nga dili ka maagi anak nga dalan, so gikinahanglan nga magsugod ka sa Genesis 1:1.
Now, we're going to take a 5-minute CR break.
So mag-break ta og 5 ka minutos.
Okay, starting right now.
Sugod ka.
5 minutes and we'll be back in our Bible.
5 minutos. Ikaw